In this demo, we are going to review the Service Reports tab in Vendor View. When you first come into Service Reports, it defaults to the available filters for the Service Reports. Let's begin at the top. The reporting starting month and year. Because this is August, it defaults to the prior month, which will be July, and then the next month, which is September. If you'd like to change that, simply choose to click the drop down and choose a different month if you want to. Also, the search functions for the client are the same as they are throughout Vendor View. You can search by client ID, the last 4 digits, or the client last name, or you can choose to display all. When you choose to display all, what you will see are clients, any clients served by you, the vendor, in the past 6 months or that are scheduled for the future. We have client name sorted by last name, the client ID, the care manager's initials, the primary and secondary, and a close date. If a client is closed, you are still able to run service reports on these clients for 6 months after the close date in comparison to today's date. To the right, what we have are the names of the reports. We have a service authorization report, a service summary report, a scheduled exceptions report, care plan calendar report, and a notice report. The checkbox directly beneath the name of the report will fill in all the checkboxes for the clients. Let me demonstrate that. Okay. If you make a mistake, simply uncheck, and it unchecks all the boxes. If you choose to generate one of these reports and you get a no data to report actually on the report, what that means is there's no template or scheduled exception in the month that you've chosen to generate the report for. If you notice a times may vary or a days may vary in quotes under the service schedule, what that means is for that particular service schedule, the times of the day may vary or the days of the week may vary. Any notes pertaining to the service task or service times will appear on the service authorization report, the service summary report, and the care plan calendar report. If the participant is at risk, that will appear at the top of all the service reports. Before I actually generate any of the service reports, let me just briefly explain the reports. Before I actually generate the service authorization report, let me briefly explain that. The service authorization basically is authorizing the service to be delivered to the client, and what you may see is the title of the report may appear a little bit differently. In other words, if it is a weekly service pattern, then the title will say weekly service authorization. If it is monthly, it will say monthly service authorization. For the service summary report, what this will do is combine all the service authorizations for the date range that you choose up here. Scheduled exception report, what that is all the exceptions, even the ones that did not create a notice, with any posted notes also will appear in this report. The care plan calendar, what that will be, it will be in a format of a calendar, and you'll actually see the days of the month, and all the patterns in the month will also be on this report. The notice report are all the notices for the person. Okay, and also what will be included on this report will be the reviewer ID, in other words, the person that actually reviewed the notice, and the date of the review. Let's go ahead and generate some reports. We'll begin with the service authorization report. I want to generate one for Pillsbury Doughboy and Superman. Okay, I've said not to include the cost per unit, and the date range is July through September. Go ahead and click the Generate Reports button, and this will automatically take you to the report download page. And right now the reports are pending or they're processing, so we're still waiting for those to be returned. Once they're returned, they will appear with a link, the report name, service authorization, client. As you can see, this is for Pillsbury Doughboy, the client ID, and when we actually generated the report. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and open this one up. Open, and this happens to be a repeatable service authorization. Notice here I chose not to include the cost per unit, the start and stop date, the vendor, the service, the purchase fund source for the waiver agency. This is their care plan line number. If you happen to have any questions about this, they may ask you for that information. This is the repeatable service pattern for this particular service. It repeats every 14 days. As you can see, 4 units on Saturday, the second Sunday, etc. Here's a care plan note. The client is on vacation, and then the client came home from vacation and went into hospital on March 6th. That's the service authorization for Pillsbury Doughboy. I'm going to go ahead and open up the report that we also generated for Superman. This is actually a weekly service authorization. This is the weekly service pattern. 4 units to be delivered on Saturday. Again, notice that there's no cost per unit on the report because we said no. And any care plan notes will also be included here. Let's go back to the Service Reports tab and generate our next report. I'm going to go back to Superman, and this time I'm going to say include the cost per unit. Go ahead and click Generate Report. And while we're waiting for this report to return, there it is. The same weekly service authorization report that we just saw a few moments ago, but this time I've included the cost per unit, so therefore we have a dollar total. Let's go back to the Service Reports tab, display all again. This time I'm going to run a service summary report for Superman. Click the Generate Reports. Again, we're automatically taken to the report download page. The report is ready to be downloaded. Service Authorization Summary Report for Superman. Click on that. Choose to open the report. And these are both services for Superman. We have a homemaker service and a specialized respite service. The weekly service pattern for this particular service is 4 units. No cost because I said no to include the cost per unit. The next service is actually a daily service pattern. So every day, Monday through Saturday, 4 units to be delivered. If there's any notes, those will be listed for each service. Okay. The thick black line actually divides the 2 services, so you'll want to pay attention to that. Let's go back to the Service Reports tab and generate another report. Next, we're going to generate a scheduled exception report for Strawberry Shortcake and for Pillsbury Doughboy. Here we go. What I want to show you is what the reports will look like when there's actually no data found. I'm choosing to open Strawberry Shortcake right now. This is what I referred to earlier when there is no data to report back for the date range. This is what the reports will look like. Pillsbury Doughboy also had no data to report. Let's go back and let's change the date range to April now and display all, and let's rerun Pillsbury Doughboy for the scheduled exception report. Okay, it's done. Notice the title of the report is Scheduled Exception. Okay, now we have data. What this is basically is the client appears to be on vacation, so they changed the units from whatever it used to be to 0 units. Okay, so that's different than what was originally scheduled, so it's an exception to the schedule. Go back to the Service Reports tab. This time, let's generate a care plan calendar report, also for Pillsbury Doughboy. While we're at it, I'm going to go ahead and generate a notice report also. I'm going to leave the date range April through September and not to include the cost per unit for my client. Generate report. I have 2 reports to be processed, so that's what's happening right now. And the client notice report was done first, so let's go ahead and click on this. What this report will do is generate all of the client notices that happened from April through September for client Pillsbury Doughboy. Okay. Actually, it's sorted descending, so the last notice that was created for Pillsbury Doughboy was a new assessment, and that was created on July 24th. Not reviewed yet, so of course this is empty and there's no reviewed by. The next one was on May 12th. There was a task change, and the very first one notice that was created for this client was a scheduled exceptions, which we just saw a few minutes ago. Notice that this one has actually been reviewed on August 7th, and who reviewed it was the person that logged in as vendor, which would have been me earlier. Okay, so what this means is that this particular notice was reviewed and archived. These two notices have not been reviewed or archived, so they're still blank for the reviewed date and time. Okay. Care Plan Calendar Report. Okay, we chose to run it from April through September for Pillsbury Doughboy. So it begins with the first service, homemaker service for April. As you can see, it's in a calendar format, so on Wednesday 4 units, Thursday and Friday also 4 units for the whole month of April. If there's any notes, they'll be here. The service days and times may vary, so this schedule can vary. These are the times that it was originally set up, the tasks that need to happen, bathing, dressing, grooming, etc. Any task notes, it looks like they added the meal preparation on April 20th. And then there's a client on vacation note. The next page will actually be the next service and month. So this happens to be May. Again, Monday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. And then we jump down to June. Same service. Next page will be July. Because we ran it for a pretty lengthy date range, that's why we're getting all these different months. Okay. At this point you can choose to print this out. Also notice that there's alert, this participant is at risk for this service. September. And then we're back to April. It looks like a different fund source and actually a different service pattern, just Wednesdays and Saturdays. That is the Care Plan Calendar Report. Actually, that's the service reports.